While most wealthy individuals go out of their way to flaunt their wealth, there are a select few who choose to keep their fortunes to themselves, opting instead for a more low-key lifestyle devoid of flashy automobiles, elaborate mansions, and other unnecessary trappings of luxury. Such individuals, though just as wealthy as their more ostentatious counterparts, are sometimes overlooked in society, but their unassuming way of life speaks volumes about their values and priorities. In today's video, we will meet such ultra-rich billionaires who live modest lives, dress modestly, and prefer to conserve money rather than squander it. Perhaps this is how they made their fortunes, or perhaps they simply don't care how the rest of the world perceives them. Whatever the reason may be, these people have proven that there are different paths to financial success, and that extravagant spending is not necessary for one to be deemed wealthy. So, without further ado, let's begin the countdown of the 10 most crazy rich people who are living like they are poor. Number 10. Starting off on number 10 is Chuck Feeney, whose net worth went from $8 billion to $2 million. Chuck Feeney, the co-founder of Duty Free Shoppers, has successfully given all of his money to charity, and he couldn't possibly be happier. After amassing an estimated $8 billion fortune throughout his lifetime, the billionaire investor, philanthropist, and author made a conscious decision to start giving away his money in 1997, donating all of it to charitable causes such as education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation. As a result, his net worth has dropped dramatically, from $8 billion to just $2 million. But despite the drastic decrease, the 92-year-old remains a role model for generosity and commitment to the greater good. Feeney has led an unusually economical existence, having no car or home and only one pair of shoes. Even when his family and coworkers traveled in business class and on the same airline as him, the philanthropic Feeney would himself fly in economy. The one-time multi-billionaire has been spotted wearing a Casio watch worth $10 and carrying his papers in a plastic bag. This commitment to living modestly has become a hallmark of Feeney's life and serves as an inspiration to others. Number 9. Azim Premji. Azim Premji is another billionaire who lives a simple life. Despite possessing an estimated net worth of more than $9 billion, Azim Premji has demonstrated his devotion to humility by avoiding extravagance. The company Wipro Limited's chairman drives a battered used Toyota and is so frugal with his money that he keeps track of the number of toilet paper rolls used by his staff in his IT facility. He also makes sure to switch off all the lights before leaving an office and still chooses to travel by rickshaws to and from the airport. But this doesn't mean he can't be generous. The Indian billionaire has donated tens of millions of dollars to charity and established a university and foundation to provide more high-paying opportunities for his country's citizens. As one of India's wealthiest individuals, Premji's commitment to frugality demonstrates his humility and charity. Number 8. Christy Walton. Likewise, Christy Walton, the widow of John T. Walton, heir to the Walmart fortune, is another example of a billionaire who chooses not to flaunt their wealth. Despite having a net worth of over $10.5 billion, Walton lives modestly and prefers to stay out of the public eye. While her wealth gives her the means to do virtually anything she desires, she is a prime example of how good one can choose to be humble and use their resources for the greater good. Walton decided to raise her son in a California Victorian home built in 1896 as she wanted her son to have a normal childhood and a simple existence. After her husband's death, she gave her house away to a charity and now lives in Jackson, Wyoming. Her philanthropy is well known and she has contributed to a wide range of causes, from medical research to environmental conservation. Number 7. David Green. David Green, in stark contrast to his billionaire colleagues, chooses to live a simple life despite his enormous wealth. Green is the founder and CEO of Hobby Lobby, one of the largest arts and crafts merchants in the United States. Even though his net worth is a whopping $14.3 billion, David is known for being frugal, buying the majority of his apparel from a thrift store, and prefers to fly only commercial and sometimes even coach. Green gives away millions of dollars to charities and Christian causes and supports free enterprise and entrepreneurship. Number 6. Ingvar Kamprad. Competing on the list of notable frugal billionaires is Ingvar Kamprad, the late founder of Swedish retail giant IKEA. In many ways, Ingvar Kamprad embodies the same ethos of frugality that many on today's list do. At the time of his passing, Ingvar Kamprad's net worth was estimated to be roughly $42.5 billion, and despite this, he lived in the same house he bought 40 years ago and drove his 1994 Volvo 240. Furthermore, he reportedly wore the same pair of black slacks for years on end, buying clothes at secondhand stores and never allowing himself to be overcharged. For Kamprad, frugality was an art form, but it also served a purpose. By conserving resources and avoiding waste, he amassed a fortune that most of us can only dream of. Number 5. Mark Zuckerberg. The co-founder and CEO of Facebook is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in recent history, and is yet another example of living life in the most modest way possible. Mark Zuckerberg, who is worth $49.3 billion, is known for his simple ways of living, which includes his modest wardrobe of plain t-shirts and hoodies and his aversion to buying and owning luxury items. Despite his enormous success and financial security, he maintains a very humble lifestyle, which he believes is important to focus on the things that are truly important in life. Number 4. Jim C. Walton. Jim Walton is the youngest son of Walmart founder Sam Walton and the chairman of Arvest Bank Group Incorporated. As one of the world's wealthiest individuals, Jim C. Walton's commitment to philanthropy demonstrates his humility and generosity. Throughout his career, Jim C. has donated to several organizations and foundations, including the Walton Family Foundation, which aims to create greater opportunities for individuals in the local communities surrounding Walmart stores. Now, speaking of his frugality, it appears that Jim Walton, with a net worth of $68 billion, seems to have inherited his father's business acumen and frugal nature. Walton Sr. was noted for driving an ancient pickup vehicle with coffee stains on the seat and no air conditioning. The younger Walton also drives a rusted Dodge Dakota pickup and resides in Bentonville, Arkansas, a one-horse town. Number 3. Amancio Ortega. Similarly, Amancio Ortega, the founder and chairman of Inditex, the parent company of Zara, is also known for his frugal lifestyle and humble approach to his wealth. Despite having a net worth of over $70 billion, Ortega chooses to live modestly, focusing on his philanthropic contributions rather than the benefits of his wealth. He chooses to dress conservatively and is often seen wearing inexpensive Zara suits, and his approach to wealth has been heralded as an example of how to do well and still remain humble. Number 2. Carlos Slim. Carlos Slim is a Mexican business magnate, investor, and philanthropist who, with a net worth of $90.4 billion, is the richest man in Mexico. And between 2010 and 2013, he was deemed the richest person in the world by Forbes. Following in the footsteps of Chuck Feeney, Carlos Slim is a prime example of what can be achieved when one commits to using their wealth for the greater good. The Mexican billionaire has donated over $4 billion to philanthropic causes over his lifetime, including $1 billion to coronavirus relief efforts in 2020. His philanthropic donations are not limited to emergency relief, and he has dedicated hundreds of millions of dollars to education and healthcare programs, helping countless people in Mexico gain access to essential resources. Regardless of his unimaginable wealth, Carlos Slim is known for his frugal lifestyle, a trait he inherited from his father. The multi-billionaire doesn't own a boat, let alone a yacht, and prefers to fly commercial when he could easily own a few private jets. In addition, Carlos has been driving himself to work for over 30 years now, all the way from the modest house he's lived in for that entire time. And at number 1 on the list, we have Warren Buffett, whose net worth is easily over $106 billion. Warren Buffett seldom needs an introduction. After all, he is so well known as one of the most successful businessmen and investors in history. With a net worth of around $106 billion, the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway and his incredible wealth has been in the public spotlight for decades. Despite his extraordinary wealth, Buffett leads a surprisingly frugal lifestyle. The billionaire has lived in the same Nebraska house that he bought for $31,500 for more than 60 years, and has preferred to eat breakfast at McDonald's almost every morning since 1958. CNBC reported that Buffett stops at his favorite fast food joint on his 5-minute commute to work, and there, what he eats mostly depends on how the stock market is doing and his overall mood. For example, when he's feeling prosperous, he'll buy a $3.17 bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit sandwich. If the market is down, he might buy a sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich for $2.95. On a particularly awful day, he buys 2 sausage patties for $2.61 and drinks a Coke. His frugal habits even extend to his wardrobe. He owns close to 20 suits, all made by the same designer and all inexpensive. Warren noted that he does not want to spend money on fancy attire when he can put that same money to better use. His wedding to his second wife was a low-key occasion, far less spectacular than many of our own weddings. But this relatively modest spender extravagantly gives away a large portion of his income to charitable organizations each year, and has become well known for living by his mantra, only buy what you need. Buffett is a powerful example of how even the wealthiest among us can and should use their wealth responsibly to benefit the world and bring about positive change.